Hi.
Hey, I am Scott Garibay, and
I'm his daughter, Autumn Garibay.
indeed, and we just want and so today we're going to be talking about something that I've had a little bit of a thought I've been thinking about for a little while now, and that is the mechanic script in in the 2020 U.S. presidential primary race, and the mechanic script is. So, do you know what the mechanic script is?
So you're referring to mechanics grip in like dealing or cards, and I actually have a deck of cards as a visual. So correct me if I'm wrong. This is a mechanic script where the dealer can see it, but the others can't.
So yes, so the mechanics grip is a specific way of dealing cards that is used by two different types of people. So it basically is a grip that you hold the cards with, and a traditional grip is you're just focused on dealing from the top, which is a traditional deal.
Yeah.
Yes, right now mechanics grip allows you to do two other types of deals. Do you know what those are?
So you can deal from the top,
Yeah.
or you could deal from the
The
bottom.
bottom, exactly. There's one more. So the bottom is called a base deal, and the other one is called a second deal. So what's the second deal?
So you could do second to the top.
Right, exactly. So with a mechanics grip, you could deal up a card that nobody expected. And I think that's exactly what's happening in the 2020 US presidential primary election. Now, the reason why I think this is one of my favorite movies is a movie called Rounders. And so you have Matt Damon is in there. Did you?
I have not seen Rounders, so give us a brief
Yeah,
synopsis.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Rounders is an amazing film. You should definitely check it out. It's Matt Damon and it's Ed Norton, and they are playing professional card sharps and sharps, not sharks, sharps. And so basically, they're incredibly good at poker, and they go out and they play poker against, not against casino. Well, they can play against casinos, but they like to play in against other poker players, and then they defeat them easily because they are really, really good at it, and they know what cards are coming. And basically, Matt Damon, who's trying to be a lawyer, and then Ed Norton, who's literally a criminal coming out of jail, are both incredibly good at this, and they make thousands and thousands of dollars uh, doing this job. And Ed Norton is trying to bring Matt Damon back into the fold, right? By the way, we are live, so of course, jump in with any questions you have, or if you've seen Rounders, let us know what you thought of the movie. So basically, with the mechanics grip, so basically you have these two people who are incredibly good at specifically the doing dealing. They're incredibly good at poker. Okay, and but they're coming at it from two different perspectives. Matt Damon's trying to just play it straight, and then Ed Norton is trying to cheat people with a mechanics grip, right? Now, he can deal off the top. He can deal set. He can do a second deal, and he can do a base deal, right? And I think what we're about to do, what the DNC is about to do, is everybody thinks they're voting for Joe Biden to be president. I don't think Joe Biden ain't gonna be president, even if he gets elected. Like for how long, right? We literally have a global health crisis that older people are highly susceptible to. There's going to be international dignitaries coming to the White House left and right. Even to get elected, he's going to have to continue to talk to hundreds, if not thousands, of people. The idea that that with all these new dangers that he will remain president seems far. I think it's ridiculous. There's no way. So I think what's happening is he's already promised a female president. So I think whoever's his VP, either he has a life exit, just from when you're 80 to 86 years old, that's a complete possibility, or some malady takes him off the board and then his VP becomes, right? And so to me, that's a second deal or that's a base deal. Now here's the difference. It's not like Rounders, because in Rounders, Ed Norton is doing this from a criminal perspective, right? But I think this is completely fine, and this is completely within the purview of the DNC to do this, because they're doing it from the perspective of the one other person in the world who uses a mechanics grip and does it with everyone's permission. Do you know who that is?
Magicians. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So what's your theory? What's your take on my theory?
So, a few things. First, I do not think that Joe Biden has promised a female president. He has promised a female vice president, and why I distinguish those is while there's a significant possibility that Joe Biden will not be around for the entirety of his presidency, I also I expected Pence to be president by now, and he hasn't been. So I'm hesitant to be like, oh, this means the vice president will definitely be president, because as these presidential candidates are getting older and older, that's partially because our life expectancies have been getting older and older. So previously, while you'd have 50, 60-year-old presidents, and yeah, they would get gray and die soon after, if not in their presidency. But we haven't seen that yet with Trump. We may not see it with Sanders or Biden. Sanders is a perfect example. He has had health conditions and has lived through them. Despite his age, if either of them were in the president's seat, I think yes, absolutely, we can expect health conditions. In this day and age, it's hard to. That doesn't necessarily mean the end of their life. But I think you're back to your analogy with the dealing up different candidates. I do think yes, the other players in this are more important than ever. The second and the bottom card,
exactly.
The vice presidents, because I don't think we're the only people thinking what we're thinking. I think everyone realizes their age, their mortality, and are putting more thought into vice presidents than they typically would. So that's one reason their choice of vice presidents was important, and why Joe Biden's vouch was very important, because it gives us a peek at those other cards. So yeah.
The other thing is, like, I just kind of want to reinforce this idea that the mechanics grip can be used by the magician, and the mechanics grip can be used by the DNC. So I think that the DNC is not using corruption. They're not rigging the game. They're simply doing what the American people have clearly signed off on, right? So Bill Clinton, America's like, oh, a president who is has a completely non-traditional approach to marriage and says no to fidelity, co-signed, right? And then 420, perfect example. The entire DNC for 50 years says ignore a law, co-signed, right? And so I really feel like what we're seeing with the DNC picking, saying Joe Biden's going to be president. I don't think Joe Biden has any. Joe Biden, if he's elected, in my opinion, has no possibility for being president for 4 years. None. And the reason why is, again, the world is like, people were wondering if this was a good idea before we went into a plague state, right? Now, like, the idea, and clearly the DNC had no idea. Nobody knew this was coming, right? So here we are sitting with two 80-year-old people, right? Two people who guarantee an 80 to 86-year-old president in the most dangerous state for an elderly president, right? And people are like, and I really feel like the DNC, they're going to have to deal somebody else up. And I think they know they have to deal somebody else up. And I think it's completely fine for them to do this mechanics grip. And the reason why is America has signed off on shenanigans left and right. It's why Donald Trump got away with the impeachment. Was people were like, quid pro quo, I don't even know Latin. Who cares? Like, what he did, people are like, is this a law? Even if it is, do we care about that? we've been ignoring laws that were on the books for decades, right? So I really feel like this mechanic script thing, we are definitely going to get another candidate served up without a doubt, in my opinion. All right, so it looks like we got some some questions and comments here. I've never seen you do. That's correct. This is new, right? Live is new. We are trying live. We really appreciate your patience. This is absolutely new for us. We're trying to kind of get the beat of it. It's a little bit new. It's a little bit different. We really appreciate your patience with this. A lot of changes. I think there's a lot of changes for us. I know there's a lot of changes for you out there. And again, I'm really curious if anybody's seen Rounders or what people think of the idea of a shell game, right? Like that Joe Biden, and the other issue here is there's been a lot of talk for a long time, and I think the DNC is starting to realize this, and I'm curious your thoughts on this, that you need somebody who can win, and then you need somebody who can govern. And frankly, Joe Biden looks like he's perfectly positioned to win. He's raking up. He can win the Democrat side. We don't know if he could beat Trump yet, right? But the idea that he's going to be able to govern, right now, people are saying he's making so many gaffes he can't get through a speech. If people are concerned about him getting through speeches and debates, how on earth is anybody going to have confidence that he's going to make it through 4 to 8 years of presidency when the earth is melting? We're dealing with a plague. Like what's your thought?
So let me ask you a question just to clarify on your analogy to the mechanic script and magicians. So for you're saying this because almost the DNC has almost served up Biden. Almost every person that has dropped out has endorsed him. But it almost feels a little corrupt. But is this as you were saying, a law that we're just ignoring, or are there any actual solid laws against this? No,
it's a great point. So I think what's happening right now is an absolute, just a recognition on the part of the DNC realizing there's absolutely no possibility that they can put Joe Biden in now. They worked really hard to get him here, but I think they're like, oh my gosh, we were starting to realize this was a bad idea before COVID-19, and now the idea that this is going to be like where we're at just seems like this isn't possible. This is not even remotely possible that they're going to be able to keep him in. And the reason why is we've had this question of, are we seeing cognitive loss, right? And with anybody younger, if they forget something, they're just saying, hey, that person forgot something. Here, every single debate, we're saying, is Joe Biden beginning to suffer cognitive loss? Which, that would seem like a cruel question, but it's not a cruel question in any way if you're 78 or 79 years old. It's completely it's like a liver spot. It just happens, right? So to me, the idea that he's going to make it through a presidency with the world as difficult as it is now just seems out. And so I feel like this mechanic script, the DNC has always been good about manipulating what candidate there's no question. There's huge debate that Bernie was robbed in 2016, right? So now I don't think there's been anything corrupt, but I think the DNC is, we've got to do a base deal or a second deal. And if this was a card sharp, that'd be against the law. But I think the reality is Americans have been signing off on shenanigans and have been saying to the government, you guys could do whatever you want. Like, we signed off on a president that lied literally to his wife, right? And we're like, yeah, that's fine. Lying's fine. To me, I feel like, and then we just signed off on a president who's like, yeah, I guess there was a quid pro quo. Who cares? And so America's just, they're like, if this isn't if there isn't direct harm and it's not on camera, we truly don't care. And so it's a magician. You're looking for the illusion. And I think that's absolutely where we've arrived. Like, America is expecting for the DNC to jump in and do something and do a base deal or do a second deal. And they won't care if Biden's been served up as the president to be when the DNC knows there's no possibility. He could even be like, it could even be discussed now that he would quit in month 3 or 6. That's my take. I don't see there's any possibility that he could make it through 4 to 8 years of the presidency. But
I still think that's a possibility, but again, a question on that, on all that. So, do you think that the DNC now has their hand in choosing their vice presidents?
oh, I think the DNC is absolutely talk. I don't think the DNC. I don't think anybody from the DNC is talking directly to Joe Biden. That would be too dangerous. I don't think that you can't do that, right? But the way politics happen is there's probably somebody on his staff who goes out to Kennebunkport and goes on a yacht somewhere, and they're talking to somebody else that's a hair's breadth away from the DNC lead, and that connection, that's a solid line of communication, and they're like, we were thinking maybe we would go with Amy. That makes a lot of sense. But now maybe we'll go with Elizabeth, or maybe we'll go with Oprah. And that's my issue. I think there's an indirect dotted line of communication between the DNC and Joe Biden's campaign. I don't think Joe Biden is aware of it in any way. I don't think the DNC CEO is aware of it, or like CEO. It's literally a CEO. CEO is aware of it, but that's the way politics work now. And the issue is, everybody's like supposed to be like, oh, is that the way the parent politics works now? But we've signed off on so many ridiculous things as American people that we're just getting what we've asked for. That, I guess, that's the issue. Is the magician is the perfect analogy. I think the American people are looking to have an illusion served up. I think they want the idea that they're going to be able to vote for Joe Biden, but they know they're going to have another president. That the DNC will not allow them to have to sit through 4 to 8 years of somebody who we're worrying now if he can get through a speech or a debate. I just can't see it.
So here's the question from all of that. Do you think that the political illusion is specifically for the Democrat primary race, or do you think that there is some concern about the legitimacy of, or again, not corruption but influence behind the presidential election?
Well, first of all, I don't believe there's any corruption in any of it. I think all of this is pure political influence. And I think this is being done for the Democrats. I don't think basically has to. And the reason why is the Democrats are so shockingly bad at gaining even a single Trump voter. And one of the reasons why is, and this is a true, massive problem, and I invite your pushback on this, it's my take that by and large, at the 95% level, Democrats have virtually no ability to talk to conservatives anymore, and almost no ability to get any of them to vote for their candidates. This, honestly, if you look at this election, I think it would have been hard to plan a better way to lose to Trump. You know what I mean? Like, what do you think?
So, that said, why do you think that the DNC is going out of their way to put Biden up then?
Oh, it's a great question, because because of lack of courage and also a incredibly shallow bench. So, and this is a huge problem for the Democrats. So the Democrats sign off on non-traditional structures for people's personal lives. The problem with that, and that gives you an amazing amount of wonderful freedom and independence. And what it also does is it gives you a huge amount of customization And when you are looking for strong candidates who can speak to people, who can carry a message, who can work as a team, the Republicans absolutely destroy them. Because the Republicans are coming from a very, they're like, oh, you want to be a mime? Well, no, like go be a lawyer. And they have like 20 times as many lawyers on the, and so when the Republicans are going to get a candidate to win political, because their structured personal lives are so less customized, their bench is very very deep when they need leader types, and so that's one of the issues. Is I think the overall the blue power base they have a lack of courage and they realize their bench is so shockingly shallow, right? Like, look at it. Pete was one of their main contenders. He had virtually no experience. He stood toe to toe with Biden and Sanders, and in my opinion, could have beat either one of them, and had a fraction of their experience. And so that's the point. And Pete's one of the best the Dems got, right? And that's the point is, and I don't know how the Dems are ever going to fix that because they love customization, and they love an incredible amount of independence and um, range within their personal freedoms, which is great if you want to like make art out of orange rinds and sweat, but it's bad if you want to have 5 people who can run for mayor of Detroit. That's my take. What do you think?
Yeah, that's interesting. I wouldn't. I'm hesitant to say that the Democratic base has a shallow bench, just because of this race for the Democratic candidate. We had a whole stage of what I believe were very intelligent leaders, and the fact that it's been whittled down to Biden and Sanders. Yes, I can definitely see how there's political influence in and around that. It is hard to understand why that wouldn't have been our choice. And it'll be interesting going forward, seeing that likely that's theirs, or that maybe that's their what they're showing as their choice, and hopefully they will put a lot of thought into who they might be pushing for vice president for both of these candidates, but particularly Biden.
Well, the other thing I think is really really interesting is one. I'm really fascinated by the idea that you have more hope that we could have somebody who could go in at 80 and finish at 84, and I like that, that you're more hopeful than me. That's a good thing, I think, because like and there's a possibility. There's absolutely a possibility, but it just seems so remote to me. So, go ahead.
Do you think we have time to answer one more question?
Yeah,
Scott?
absolutely.
All right. So, what do you think about the level of volatility at this point? Do you think there might be some sort of Hail Mary?
Oh yeah, absolutely. So this has already been talked about. So one, that's what I'm saying. There's going to be a base deal, or there's going to be a second deal, right? So one of the things that's already been talked about, and I'm fully on board with this, I think this very well may happen, is a switch out at the convention. So take Biden all the way to the convention with all the delegates, and then he says, "Oh, you know what? I'm not feeling well," or he says, he gives some kind of reason, and then hands off his candidacy to another person. I think that 100% could happen. There's no two ways about it. There is massive volatility right now. Truly, we have never seen anything like this in American politics ever, right? Because you have shelter in place, you have people who are staying in their houses, but at the same time, we're seeing incredible things, right? So we had a plumbing situation today, all right, and I was like, oh no, we have a plumbing situation, and we need to get a plumber out here. It's going to take days. It took 30 minutes, and the job was done within an hour and a half of our call, and it was done spectacularly. So we're in this crisis that seems to be happening so smoothly. There seems to be no violence. There seems to be almost no disruptions, and people are, and one of the things that's really shocking too is what the heck happened to Donald Trump? He seems to be very presidential, and there are like a lot of Democrats who are like, where'd this guy show up? Calm and assertive, and like, it's amazing. So I think the reality is it's going to be very, very hard for the Democrats, and so I think there's absolutely going to need to be a Hail Mary. It looks like Bernie's done, although a lot of places are saying Bernie's done. There's still like there's well over 1,500 delegates. Easy to for and if anything happens to either one of these candidates, it changes the whole game. What do you think on the question of volatility and the question of a Hail Mary?
Yeah, so I think volatility is a bit vague because politics, I believe, has always been a bit volatile, and particularly in this race, there's also been a pleasant lack of volatility. Both are projecting that blue no matter who, I'll support you if you win, I'll support you if you win. I am guessing that as we're talking about political influence, there's a lot of volatility behind the scenes. There are probably elbows being thrown to get
Big
to
time.
these VP seats.
Big time.
And I don't know if you can consider them as maybe our Hail Mary, our chance at a president that isn't Biden or Sanders. Again, Tulsi Gabbard still has not stepped down, and while
That's
she
correct.
may be asked to be a vice president, there's still the slim chance that she will be president, should, God forbid, something happen to Biden and Sanders. Yeah.
Agreed. Or either one. And because I think that's another thing that people aren't talking about is whatever happens to one of them, the other one owns it too. Because they're exact. Because like who's gonna be like, oh, well that can't happen to him. He's 1 year younger, or he's 1 year older. And they're gonna be like, oh, these are the same people. This is the same person. Like they're virtually clones. Like their attributes are virtually the same down to the last bit, right? So it's really crazy that these are our choices because it seems like barely a choice. Like one old white dude or another old white dude. Like is this really a choice? Like it's I really don't think so at all. We definitely wanted to thank you, Jennifer. Thanks for getting a little pep to our live production here. Everyone, we are trying to do more lives. Please join us. We also know it's challenging. There's a lot going on right now. We want to thank everybody who's continuing to watch and like and interact. And I just want to say I'm continuing to pray for each and every one of you. And really, because this is a very unusual time. We're in it as well as you guys. Let us know how you're doing. We definitely like to pray more intently for you or more specifically. It's a really unusual situation. But I do want to just say we're doing fairly well. We're really blessed to be in an area that's very safe, and we've been able to kind of come through it really well. Also, the communities you're connected to, I was really incredibly impressed with how well they're communicating. Young people, I think, are doing a better job of this than older people. What are your thoughts on as we close out?
Yeah, and I would also like to return the compliment to you and the Yippee-ki-yangs, because as a lot of us are stuck at home through this crisis, we still have the opportunity to be in community with family and also with people that 100 years ago we never would have been able to talk to, and especially to talk about such I think meaningful and interesting things. So thank you for giving us that opportunity and for listening and for asking questions, because it has been really incredible.
Thank you. All right, thank you very much. Have a wonderful millennium, and we will talk to you again tomorrow.